afternoon, Lady Lou. Great to have you today. I'm so excited.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Jody. I am pleased to be here too.
Lady Lou, you have been around, you have a lot of experience. What is one of your major obstacles you've had to get over in your life?
Oh dear. Well, it goes back to when I was 44, and I'm 75 now. I lost my husband to cancer, and I didn't know who I was. All of a sudden, I was Louise. Who is Louise? I was always before that, I was someone's daughter or I was someone's wife. Never Louise. I always had an alter ego, I guess, if you will. And when he died, I didn't know up from down. What do I do now? So I lived in my home for 12 full months and hardly ventured out except to the grocery store and to visit my parents. It was HELL, if you will, because I'm a people person. I hated it, just hated it. And one day I had this conversation with God, and I know I'm not into religion, but God and I talk. And I asked him, I said, look, I need some help. I don't want to live like this any longer. I'm bored, I'm lonely, everything is just not working anymore. What is it? Can I just die? I'm not sick, but do I just die and let it all go? Or do I get my life back? And I don't know how to do that. And then I let it go. A week later, I was reading the newspaper and the business section of all things, which, I had to be bored to read the business section. And there was this thing about a networking meeting. And I had never heard the words networking meeting. And it was a woman named Carol Hyatt, who was the speaker. Came in from New York, and she had written a couple of books, co-written one, and When Smart People Fail, and The Woman's Selling Game. So I thought, oh, good, I'll go listen. Maybe she'll talk about the woman's selling game, because I've been in sales all my life. And I went. I made myself go by myself because I was miserable. And I don't know why I went out that door. I was scared.
I want to bring up a point because you brought up an excellent point, and a lot of the women I deal with have the same thing. They come to a point where they just don't know what to do with themselves because life has had a challenge either forced upon them or they've had a new challenge. And you had, of course, a major crisis. It's not always a crisis, though. And what you did, though, is that you looked for support, you got your support, you're getting your answers. And thank you, because I think that's a very good point.
Yeah, and if you're not a big God believer or that's not who you talk to, that's fine. The universe will answer. It doesn't have to be a specific deity. It can be the universe. It can be your inner self. And when my inner self answered and said, go to this stupid meeting, I thought, why? I don't want to go by myself. And I did. I got dressed. I showed up. It was a nighttime meeting. I'd never been there before. Didn't even know where it was. Had to hunt for it. And when I walked in, the ladies who ran the meeting were so kind to me. I know if that had not happened, I would have left. But they were so very, very considerate. They knew I was scared. They could tell, I'm sure. And they got me over it, and I was able to stay for the meeting. And I thought, oh, good, this lady's so wise, and she's from New York. She knows all the answers, and she'll help me. She's going to talk about the woman's selling game. I just know it. Here's what she talked about, and she was speaking directly to me. It was about women getting out of their nightgowns. I had lived in my nightgown for 12 full months, rarely getting dressed. That was my turning point. I started going to every networking meeting I could find and loving every minute of it. I soon had a newsletter that I put out on the internet every week with 1,800 people on it. I became the queen of networking and loved every minute of it, started training other people. And I had a whole new life. And it's that simple. One step at a time, but you have to take action.
That's one of the things that we stress, because what you did is you took the first step. And I think that is the hardest, heaviest most difficult thing to do is to take the first
Oh, yeah.
action. And I really support you because that takes so much courage, and knowing that there's something beyond you and that you deserve to have a happy life.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're really, really, really scared and you've got a friend who would go with you, take her or him or whoever it might be, go with someone. And it makes it a little easier, because when you do it by yourself, it really is scary. But I got over it and I became what I thought I was supposed to be. And it was fun. It was exciting. It was challenging. It was just absolutely a different world than I'd ever known in my life. So it was beautiful and
And
still
what I,
is.
it's so wonderful because you've gotten the support you need. And I know that I do support in a different way, where we find out what's really underlying. Why aren't we moving ahead? What's really going on? And we move past, we make more peace with our past, so to speak. And it sounds like you did in your own way. You
Yes.
also are branching out a lot. What do you think is the biggest lesson you've learned from going through this, and from what you're even doing now?
Oh, I think the biggest lesson to learn is that give it a shot. I mean, you can't lose anything but time. You're not going to have your fingers chopped off, or you're not going to be shot. What's to be afraid of? Give it a try and see what happens. It might work and it might not, because failure happens and you pick yourself up and you go back and you do something else. That's the way I do it.
Somebody told me that failure is when you quit
Yeah.
and you don't try to think of another angle, and that really stuck with me.
Yeah. So failure is part of who we are. We learn from them most of the time, not always. Sometimes we have to make them a time or two, but we do learn from our failures and our mistakes and own up to them. Oh, I did that. That was me. Oh, I'm so sorry. Go on. Let it be. Throw it in the dust. Leave it alone and move on. Mhm.
What inspires you? What are your favorite quotes? What is
Oh,
inspiring to you?
well, one of my most favorite quotes and it is that just be who you are
Yeah.
and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. That's Dr. Seuss.
Ah, is that funny? And so
Yeah,
true. So true.
yeah, mhm,
Well said.
yeah.
Well said.
And then my best one, my favorite saying or quote, is from Walt Disney. I just adore that man. And well, as a kid, as I adored him, and of course he's gone. But he says, all our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them.
Yes, the courage to be willing to change, the courage to know that there's something inside of us that's bigger than us,
That's
that
it.
we really can become that thing, that negative noise doesn't have to ruin our lives. Beautiful.
Yeah. And the dreams are I think what keep most of us alive. If we couldn't dream, what good is it being here? We want to be able to dream that we're rich. We want to be able to dream that we've got a beautiful home. We want to dream about that perfect relationship. And dreaming is good in its own way, and yet it can stop us from moving forward. So just know that dreaming keeps us alive, it keeps us vibrant, and that we should dream big,
How
big.
have you dreamed big? What's an example of how? I mean, that's,
Okay, when my mother died back in 2007, I think, I was still living in Houston in a home that my husband and I had, and it was tough making the mortgage every month. And I didn't have a lot of money to spend on anything extra, which, a lot of us live like that. And I didn't mind. I still had a roof over my head. But the very fact that I wanted to leave Houston drove me. I was ready to leave Houston, get out of the city. I was raised in the country. I was a farm girl for many years, 17 years, I was a farm girl. I wanted to get back to nature. And then my mother died, and my dad had bought them 5.5 acres near Conroe, and they lived here until my dad died, and then my mother finally passed. and we were going to think about selling the property. And my brother and sister, who both had good jobs in Houston, got together and they said, let's ask Louise and see if she wants to move to the house in Conroe. Because I wasn't working at that time. I had taken a lot of time off to take care of my mother, that kind of thing. So I didn't have a job. I wasn't the queen of networking anymore. I'd let that go. And when they asked me that, it took me about 2 seconds to say yes. And I've been here 12 years and absolutely love it. I became a master gardener. I call myself a lady farmer. And I love to grow things. That's inherited, I think. So you just take action and things happen. You never know. I never knew I'd be up here.
That is
Happy
a major
ending.
thing. It is a very happy ending. And with that, unfortunately, our time is out. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. It is a delight having you. And thank you for
thank
sharing your
you.
wisdom. Thank you.
You bet. Just know that you can dream and go for it. Bye.
Bye-bye.